Greetings again, you guys. Tata Anu here. I want to talk to you about an herb named slippery elm. Ulmus fulva is the botanical name for it. Slippery elm is considered to be a demulcent and an emollient, which means demulcent means it's a kind of, it forms a slimy kind of texture which coats the mucus membrane when you ingest it, and it does the same on the skin if you're to use it topically. So it can help protect and heal the skin, and when taken internally it can protect and heal the gut. Now, I have a very personal affinity for this herb because I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease like 25 years ago. Or 26, I don't know. Anyway, once I learned about this herb, I started to use it. And, because Crohn's disease is an inflammatory, intestinal inflammatory condition. And it's a very, very painful condition. I mean, debilitating, painful condition. And if anybody out there have or know anyone with this condition, then you probably know all too well how that person may look normal and everything, but they're constantly saying my stomach hurt, or they won't come out, they will sleep, they will lay in the bed all day because it is such an excruciating pain that they get in the pit of their stomach that and you just don't know what to do. Every time you eat, it hurts. Every time you drink, it hurts. You will end up losing a lot of weight. And to be quite honest, the pharmaceutical medicines used to treat these conditions are very, very harsh. I was on prednisone, just about anything that you could say, name it, except for the latest therapies that they've been using. I'm not even going to speak the name, but there are so many people that use it, and it's very expensive. It costs like $7,000 a month or something like that. Very, very expensive drugs are used to treat it. And the drugs block the receptors that cause inflammation, and that's how it gets the inflammation to stop. Well, inflammation comes from the things you eat, and you would know for sure that the things that you eat are what's causing the condition, because if it's your stomach and what you eat and goes directly into your stomach, and that's where it digests, and just from that alone, you know that what you're eating is what's causing it. Anywho, when I had the condition, I had this book, Back to Eden by Jethro Kloss. I've had that book since I was literally a child. My mom purchased the book. She, I used to go with her to the herb shop, and that's how I first started out with getting familiar with herbs, because my mother and my oldest sister were into natural healing of whatever sort. And when I was looking for something to help me naturally, because the medications that I were on were horrible, it made me feel awful. And I mean, I was just at a point where I felt like I didn't want to live anymore. I was a young mom, and I had a young child, 2-year-old, to take care of at the time. And I just felt like there was no way out of that pain and the horrible drugs that they were using to treat it. And so I found slippery elm. And while I can say it wasn't slippery elm alone, slippery elm played a huge part in how I came to find healing from the disorder that I was suffering from. Slippery elm is considered an old-fashioned remedy. The tree bark, it's the inner tree bark, and it was also used as food because it's really nutritious. Sometimes I would use the powder, and other times I would use the bark itself. Let me see if we can see what this looks like. It crumbles and it makes a lot of dust. But I would take this and I would boil it, and then it becomes like a thick mucilage kind of drink. It's thick. And I'm not going to say that it really doesn't have much of a taste. So it's not gross, but the texture, might turn some people off. But when I would drink it, it would soothe everything from my throat to my stomach, my intestines, and I would just feel better. And so that became a thing. I still take slippery elm to this day. And I started taking it over 25 years ago. And I'm not saying slippery elm is the reason why I haven't been to the doctor for Crohn's disease in a long time, but I will say that I know it helped me in my case. Yours may be different. You might want to ask your doctor if slippery elm is something that you should or that you could take if you suffer from Crohn's disease or any one of the irritable bowel syndromes, anything where you need soothing from the inflammation. But the number one thing when it comes to inflammation is checking your diet. Cut out the processed foods, cut out the sugars and the fats, the abundance of fats. Some people say that the carbs are not an issue, and other people say that carbs is an issue. Some people who suffer from Crohn's disease have diarrhea a lot. Others have constipation a lot. So you really have to get to know your body and know what works for your body the best. Another use for slippery elm is as a suppository for females into the vagina. It soothes the vaginal walls and from inflammation. It does the same thing. It soothes the inflammation, and it's a cooling herb, so it cools the feeling. Like if someone is suffering from yeast or anything, I would say you would have to pair it with another herb that can actually kill yeast if yeast is the problem. But slippery elm can do the job of cooling and soothing, irritation, inflammation in the vaginal canal. Slippery elm was also used, and to this day is used in throat lozenges if you have a sore throat. Because of that mucilage, it will help coat the throat and soothe it, so that if it's a lot of coughing or anything, it won't hurt as much. It will form a coat of slime almost. Not slime like mucus. It's not the same thing. The slime, it would slime your throat to soothe it and cool it off from the heat from all of the coughing, and it helps to heal it. Some people add fennel to it when they're trying to, for the flavor, when they're using it for their throat. So some of the other uses for slippery elm are the bolus for any uterine problems, asthma and bronchitis, which I mentioned with the coughing, constipation. It helps with constipation because it helps to move things along, because the slime that it makes helps to move things on out. Any intestinal flu, it helps to remove it quickly out of the colon. Hemorrhoids, it's good for hemorrhoids, whether you have internal or external hemorrhoids. It's also good to help remove parasites and worms. Well, that's my spiel on slippery elm. It's a wonderful herb. I mean, I definitely always have it in my house. And there's this drink that I make from time to time. Usually in the wintertime, I'll make what I call a slippery elm latte, where I take the powdered form of the slippery elm. I heat up the milk, almond milk or any non-dairy milk. I heat it up. I add some agave. I add the slippery elm powder to it. Not too much, because you don't want your drink to be too thick. So maybe like a half a teaspoon. I heat it up, warm it up, put it in a blender, blend it. I have a high speed blender, so it makes like the foam, like the way latte makes. And then I just sprinkle just a bit of cinnamon on it, and I drink that instead of hot chocolate. I started giving my children that many years ago, and they are grateful for it. It's comforting, it's good, and like I said, it's nutritious. So definitely something that you can give to your children without feeling guilty, because you're not giving them fake chocolate and sugar. It's something more natural that you're giving them, and they will like it for sure, and it kind of fills them up too. So that's what I have to say about slippery elm. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.